So hello everyone, my name is Shekhar and this session is about an overview what we are going to cover up in our curriculum of AWS and DevOps training sessions. So if we'll go separately about entire AWS training and DevOps training, then we'll have huge number of sessions on AWS. But since this training will be comprised of both AWS and DevOps, so we'll be covering those sessions of AWS which basically a DevOps engineer use in their day-to-day activities. So I'll be covering up all those services which AWS provides, which a DevOps engineer use to provide support to client and customers, right? In order to do so, these are the topics which we'll be covering up in our curriculum, wherein we'll speak about the cloud and cloud computing. I'll be focusing on cloud computing, which is mainly provided by AWS as a vendor because there are more big players in market like Azure, GCP, IBM also provides cloud, Oracle, many big players are there, but we'll be mostly concerned about, will be mainly focusing on AWS as a cloud service provider in our curriculum. So herein, what we'll do is we'll talk about cloud computing, various kind of service models, various kind of deployment models, which I'll be showing you in upcoming slides also. So those things will be main components of our curriculum, of our course curriculum. Other than that, I'll be explaining about AWS, the benefits of AWS over other players in market, the advantages of AWS in providing high availability, scalability, and elasticity, how AWS provides the minimum latency to their customers. Other than that, I'll be also explaining about what we call regions, what we call availability zones and edge locations in AWS. Other than that, there are various means by which we can access AWS consoles. We can access AWS consoles on browser. We can access AWS consoles by using CLIs, SDKs, and various other management consoles. I'll give you guys that idea how we can access AWS console by using CLI, SDK, and how we can access console on browser as well. So those kind of ideas which will be covered in our curriculum. And the best part of this will be that I'll be showing you some of the demo sessions also. How you can launch one EC2 instance, because nowadays what mainly happens is whatever the applications we develop that goes directly into AWS virtual machine, to which the AWS service is named as EC2, which is Elastic Cloud Compute. Fine. So how we can launch that Elastic Cloud Compute? What are the costs involved when we launch that Elastic Cloud Compute? Fine. But for now, since we are doing the demo session, so what I'll do is I'll show you how to create a free tier account of EC2 in my demo session. Along with that, this EC2 is considered as a compute resource because this gives you an interface wherein we can we can spin up one virtual machine of whose Amazon machine image is already inbuilt there when we create a free tier account. I'll be showing you in our demo sessions all those things how to do. Let's move on to upcoming slides. So here, as you can see, mainly what AWS is to give some idea, kind of high level overview what AWS is. AWS is nothing but a public cloud provider by means of which it provides supports to its client. By using services of AWS, the client can have high availability, high scalability, and highly secure resource present there at every point of time. Now, client can access AWS infrastructure, the services which AWS provides on cost and pay as you use basis. When I say pay as you use basis, it means that the client or customers will pay only for those period, only for those services which they actually use. They no need to pay anything extra. That is what makes AWS a kind of very different cloud service provider when we compare it with other players in market. Fine. So we'll be covering that in our curriculum. I'll be giving you the idea what are the different services which AWS provides to their customers. AWS is having more than 100 services available for their customers. I'll be giving you those ideas rather than going in depth. As I said already, that I'll be focusing mainly on those services which a DevOps engineer need, because we are talking about the integrated courses of AWS and DevOps. I'll be giving you that idea. So wherein out of the 100 plus services which AWS is having in their domain, we'll be talking about certain number of services in very detail. Okay, we'll be talking about benefits of AWS, which involves reliability, security, flexibility, the cost effectiveness, which is very much important, a kind of highly improved feature which AWS provides to their clients, customers, cost effectiveness. Other than that, the scalability and high performance will be one of the main component which is driving AWS much far apart from their customers, from their competitors. We'll be discussing about these parts also. I'll be showing you the comparison of various services which AWS provides and other competitors of AWS provides. Like in this slide, you can see that AWS names the virtual machine which we spin up as EC2, wherein Azure names it as virtual machine and GCP names it as compute engine. Similar to that, we have storage services to which Azure names as blob storage and GCP says it as storage. Other than this, we have several other services, and I'll be showing you the comparison of those services with their other competitors in market. Okay, so this all will be covered there in our AWS section of AWS DevOps training courses. We'll be talking about cloud computing. We'll be talking about the various attributes which one cloud service provider needs to have to be well defined as a cloud vendor. So we'll be talking about those all attributes, which includes on-demand service. As I already said, what on-demand self-service is, it's nothing but if a customer needs, say, 100 virtual machines to be available at any particular point of time, they just can spin up those 100 virtual machines, 100 servers from themselves within few minutes. So that is nothing but on-demand self-service. Other than that, we do have other services like broad network access, wherein the entire services is made available to clients on internet, on network. So to give you an example on this, say for example, any customer is sitting in say United States, okay, and they do have their data center located somewhere in Europe, and client wants to provision the resources or the server which is present there in data center somewhere in Europe, they can easily do by using broad network access service. This broad network access service is nothing but the mechanism by means of which services can be provided around the geographical locations over network, over internet. Other than that, we'll be talking about resource pooling, wherein the concept of multi-tenancy comes. We'll be also talking about rapid elasticity and measure services in our curriculum. We'll be talking about why cloud computing, why a customer cannot just sit on their own infrastructure. Why do they basically need cloud computing? We'll be discussing more in depth about why cloud computing in our curriculum. We'll be also talking about different computing service models. When I say different computing service models, different services, different components. Bhavna, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, because I'm getting some kind of network instability messages. Okay, so we'll be basically talking about the different services which is managed by vendor and the services which is managed by the customer or client itself. So when I'll be explaining you guys about computing service models, I'll be talking mainly about infrastructure service, platform as service, and software service, wherein I'll well define that segregation of services which is managed by client and which is managed by the vendor itself. So we'll be talking that about more in depth. Okay, so here in these slides, as you can see, I'm explaining mainly about IaaS, wherein all those companies which use IaaS as a service, that is also presented there. Other than that, we'll be talking about platform as a service, software as a service also. Other than the models, other than the model as a infrastructure, platform, and service, we'll also be talking about some of the deployment models. In deployment models, we'll try to understand what are the different types of deployment models, what are their advantages, disadvantages, which all company provides, which all vendor provides, what kind of deployment models. We'll be discussing that. We'll be talking about public, private, hybrid, and community deployment models very much explicitly. We'll be understanding all these concepts. What makes public deployment model a public deployment model? We'll understand that. What is hybrid deployment model? I believe everyone is having a kind of uh, thought about hybrid model, which says that hybrid model involves the support from multiple vendors. I'll be giving you an idea how to integrate the services which is given by different vendors. I'll be also giving you an idea about a company who wants to use AWS as a service provider at one end and their own private cloud at another end, and they're using and integrating it together in our session. Other than that, we'll also be talking about in AWS part, what are the different regions in AWS we do have available. What is availability zones and what are edge locations? Edge location is not there in this slide. We'll be talking about edge locations also, which is nothing but cached location, wherein we'll talk about CloudFront as a service. We'll be seeing all these components very precisely when we are talking about regions, availability zones, and edge locations. These are kind of demographic or geographical locations, geographical split of different regions, as you can see in this slide. We'll be talking about what these numbers are, why these numbers say for some location in North America, as we can see, we do have how many? 7 regions available there. Why 7 regions are available there? Okay, when we are talking about Asia, as you can see, we do have a limited number of how many? Nearly 5 to 6 regions available. Why regions in Asia? Why 7 regions in North America? We'll be talking and discussing about those components also, those features and advantages, disadvantages, benefits also. How we can create multiple regions at different locations. We'll be talking about those part also. This is another slide which talks about AWS regions. I'll be giving you an overview of three-stage distribution of AWS infrastructure. What are the foundation service which AWS provides to their customers? What are compute service or compute component? What is storage as a component? What is database as a component? What are networking as a component? Why these are called foundation services? This will be contained in our curriculum. I'll be talking about multiple other services, multiple other high-level services which can be created on top of these foundation services. When I am saying about foundation services, I'm pointing to compute, storage, database, and networking as a services. And there are, as I already said, we do have more than 100 services which AWS provides. And how those more than 100 services sits on these foundation services, we'll be talking about in our curriculum. In very, what are availability zones, how it's different from regions, on what grounds we segregate availability zones on different geographical locations, how do we create, how do we understand how many availability zones we need to have in a particular locations. We'll discuss about those part on those half as well. What is edge locations? Why edge location is needed? What are the different CloudFront? What are the CloudFront services which is needed for edge location to function properly, to work properly? That will be one of the big component in our curriculum. We'll be talking about that half also. Other than that, as I've already said, already spoke about 100 plus services we do have, which we get from, which AWS provides to their customers, how those services are segregated. Those services are segregated on compute grounds, on storage and content delivery grounds, database grounds, networking, management tools, security and identity, application services, and developer tools grounds. What are the sub-services which falls under these grounds? Say, if I'm talking about compute services, compute resources, that there are multiple services which AWS provides under that, which is EC2, Elastic Beanstalk, Lambda, auto scaling, and Elastic Load Balancer. I'll be talking on much detail about EC2 and auto scaling in this case, because that a DevOps engineer basically need while a DevOps engineer is providing support to their client and customers. So I'll be discussing about these all. I'll be basically giving a high level overview about all these segregations, about all these grounds on which these services are divided. I'll be talking about compute. On compute, under compute, we have multiple services like EC2, Beanstalk, Lambda, auto scaling, and load balancer. I'll be, as I already said, I'll be mainly focusing on EC2 and auto scaling because that is very much needed by a DevOps engineer to discuss. Other than this, we do have storage and content delivery. Under this, I'll be talking about S3 as a component. I do have one demo sessions planned for this, wherein we'll see how to create S3 bucket. We'll be creating S3 bucket also for this. I'll be showing you what are the different filters which we need to check in to create S3 buckets so that it can be kept private, it can be made public. We'll be discussing that. We'll be seeing that when we are talking about when we are doing our demo sessions. Okay, so we do have some database services. I'll be giving you basically a high level overview because you do not need to have in-depth knowledge of database services while working as a DevOps guy. Okay, so I'll be giving you the idea, overall idea about what RDS is, what is DynamoDB, what is Elastic Cache, what is Redshift. We're giving you that idea. On networking half, we'll be talking about VPC, Direct Connect, and Route 53. I'll be giving you that idea. I'll be talking about Route 53 when I'm giving you an idea, overview about edge locations. And when we are talking about CloudFront, I'll be giving you the idea about Route 53 on that half also. Other than that, we'll discuss about management tools, wherein we'll see what CloudWatch is, what is CloudFormation, CloudTrail, OpsWorks, advisors. I'll be giving you an overview, a kind of high level overview about every component, so that when you're sitting for interview, these components will be very much essentials. Okay. Other than that, the important thing, very much important thing in AWS, which is the security hub, wherein we do have two components here, which is identity access management, which is IAM, wherein we create roles, groups, and multiple other things. How do we create roles there? How do we create groups there? How these groups can be segregated well under roles? How do we define roles? How do we write certain codes for roles? I'll be giving you that overview also. How to pull in logic to write roles? I'll be giving you that idea also. What is KMS? What is Key Management Service? These components we'll be discussing. We'll be discussing about IAM and KMS very deeply when we are talking about AWS as a component of DevOps. I'll be giving you some idea, kind of again overview, high level overview on application services, under which we'll have SCS, SNS, SQS, and SWF as a component. I'll be giving you again a high level overview on DevOps tools, which is code pipeline, deploy, code build, and code commit. So these are, like, as you can see, when we are talking about DevOps, we have some different tools there in DevOps also. Like for build, we do have Maven as a tool. For deploy, we have configuration management tools there. For pipeline, we have Jenkins as a tool there. For code commit, we have Git as a tool there. So we'll be mainly focusing on Git, Git, Jenkins, Maven there, because when you start working as a DevOps engineer and when you go for an interview, the interviewer will expect you to have those tools, idea on those tools, rather than simply having idea on the services which AWS provides. So I'll be mainly focusing on those tools in our curriculum. Okay, as I already said, by the end of this AWS session, we'll have some demos classes, demo sessions on S3 bucket, wherein we'll learn how to create S3 bucket, how to put in some of the logics, how to put in some of the filters there while we are creating S3 bucket. And we'll end up our AWS session with the creation of EC2 instances. It will be very much important for you guys, because when you are trying to install different tools which is needed for the seamless functionality of DevOps, you need to have those tools installed there in EC2 instance itself, so that you can have your own sandboxes available with you, wherein you can practice, wherein you can put in some of the codes, and you can see how the pipeline flows, how the DevOps pipeline, how the Jenkins pipeline flows. So creation of EC2 instances will be very much important for you guys. So I'll be ending up the AWS part of our AWS DevOps curriculum by showing you how to create EC2 instance, how to install various tools which is needed for a DevOps engineer to work properly in our EC2 instance itself. So I'll be ending this AWS component here itself. Our next component will come up, which will be the DevOps part. Let me open another slide for that. Okay, so when we will be talking about DevOps, we'll have nearly 11 to 12 sessions, 11 to 12 sessions for that. I have segregated these sessions not on the number of hours which we do have, not on the number of days which we do have, but rather on the number of topics which we are going to cover. So how many topics we are going to cover, I have created a kind of overview depending on that. We'll be covering Git as a tool for code commit there. We'll see how to integrate Git with Jenkins and Maven. We'll see how the continuous integration we can achieve by using Jenkins. We'll see how we can have continuous testing by using Selenium. We'll focus very deeply into Docker. We'll start Docker from very scratch, and we'll go to very in-depth knowledge of Docker. We'll see how to create images, create our own images rather. It's very good to say create our own images, because we do have a number of images which is already present there in Docker registry. We will use those images and we'll create our own images on top of that. We'll see how to create containers by using those images. We'll also see what is the role of Docker Swarm, how Docker Swarm plays its role in providing high availability, in providing flexibility and scalability to client. We'll see that thing also. Other than that, when we are talking about configuration management tools, I have planned to have two different tools in our curriculum, which is Puppet and Ansible. We'll see the well-defined difference in between Puppet and Ansible. We will see the different type of architectures when we are talking about configuration management tool. We will see what is pull-based architecture. We'll also see what is push-based architecture. We'll see which architecture is more renowned, is holding good chunk of market now in IT industries, in software development life cycles. We'll see that part also. We'll see how Ansible can be well installed. We'll see how Puppet can be installed in our machines, in our EC2 machines, to be very precise. Other than that, we'll get a good idea about Kubernetes, because even though Docker Swarm is used to have high availability and scalability, Kubernetes plays its own role. Kubernetes is well known for scalability, for high availability now in market, rather than using Docker Swarm. We'll see how Kubernetes is different from Docker Swarm, the complexity in using Kubernetes, the challenges which a company can face if they're using Kubernetes, the advantages of Kubernetes on any other scaling tool. We'll see that. Other than that, we'll talk about the monitoring tool, which is Nagios. I'll be discussing about Nagios as a monitoring tool. And other than that, the last component will be DevOps on cloud, which will be AWS in our cases. Okay, so to give you a high level overview, what we are going to cover up, we'll be talking about the different cycles in software development life cycles, which starts from very first, which is waterfall model, which was there late in I'll say 2008. So waterfall model started from there. How waterfall model grows? What was the advantage of waterfall model? What was the disadvantage of waterfall model? As you can see in my slide, I do have 6 different components under waterfall model, which is requirement gathering, system design, system implementation, system testing, system deployment, and system maintenance. We'll be understanding all these components one by one in very detailed way. Okay, how these all 6 components plays role in software development lifecycle. We'll understand that. Other than that, what was the challenge? What were the challenges which a developer, because DevOps is, guys, nothing but the combination of development team and operations team. In development team, we do have developers, testers, quality analyst guys. In operations team, we do have those guys who are actually managing the infrastructure. So DevOps is nothing but a mechanism, a methodology which actually brought developers, testing team, quality analyst team, and operations team together. We'll see how they are brought together. Prior to they brought together by using DevOps methodology, the challenges which were faced by developers, we'll see that also. As you can see in this slide, it says that prior to we had DevOps as a methodology, we had waterfall methodology, by using which the developer were facing some of the issues like waiting time for code deployment were too high, pressure of work on old pending and new code were too much. That was resolved by using DevOps, and the solutions which DevOps has provided to their clients is listed in this slide itself. We'll be talking about those details also, those differences also. Here we can have a number of interview questions. We'll be discussing about those interview questions also in our curriculum. We'll be talking about the challenges which one operations guy face when they use waterfall as a methodology, and the advantages which operations guy get when they use DevOps as a methodology. We'll be seeing the well-defined segregation in between two. We'll see advantage of one over the other. We'll see how DevOps helped those challenges to overcome. We'll be discussing about that. We'll be seeing these which I'm mentioning in the slides one by one. And also, since in our curriculum, we'll be saying about all the tools which is needed for seamless flow of DevOps pipeline, we'll be seeing these all issues to getting resolved in a demonstrated way. So that will be more beneficial for us. Okay, we'll be seeing how DevOps is considered as one solution to all the problems, how DevOps is considered as development team combination with operations team and QA team. We'll be seeing this part. We'll be understanding what actually DevOps is, why DevOps is now replacing automation, why it's said that DevOps is about automation, why it's said that DevOps is about implementing best practices with help of several tools, why DevOps is said as a methodology which brings agility in our infrastructure. We'll be understanding that component also. What basically DevOps do? DevOps does the planning phase, DevOps does the coding, building, then testing, then releasing, then deploying, then operating, then monitoring. How these all components starting from planning till monitoring can be integrated together so that it works in a cycle. As you can see in my slide, all these components starting from plan till monitoring, everything works in a cycle, and it works in very automated way. No one needs to manually intervene it and hijack the process. These everything moves in very sequential way. and I'll be showing you how it works in very sequential way. We'll be creating that kind of pipeline, and in that pipeline, all the different processes, all the different jobs, job of planning, job of coding, job of building, job of testing, releasing, deploying, and operating, also monitoring, flows in a sequence. We'll be seeing that in very demonstrated way. We'll be seeing in our curriculum the differences of Agile, Waterfall, and DevOps. As you can see in my slide clearly here, the code is taking a big part, right? A big part. So even though if a coder, a developer writes a code which is say of 1,000 lines in 3 to 4 months, testing and deployment will only happen after that. So say today, if a customer is asking for any application, that application already takes 6 to 7 months time to get released, to get deployed. By that time, it may happen that the demand, that the requirement of a customer has changed. How that process can be rectified, how that challenge can be overcome by using DevOps, we'll understand that. Also, along with that, we'll see what is the trend a DevOps profile is following nowadays in market, what the salary a DevOps engineer gets, what is going to be responsibility of a DevOps engineer, how the job profile varies, how the job requirement is there for a DevOps guy in market now. We'll see that thing also. We'll see what should be a skill set of a DevOps engineer, whether they require any coding knowledge or not, whether they require any development knowledge or not. We'll see that part also. What are the tools which is required for a DevOps engineer to know, to understand very nicely, very clearly. We'll see that part also in our curriculum. What planning phases, as we have already seen in our slide here, it comprises of phases from plan to monitor. We'll see all these components in our curriculum, which starts from planning. What are the tools which is involved in this phase? We'll see about the role of a coder, role of a developer here, and where that code sits. In this phase, we'll be talking about Git as a tool. Okay, I'll be giving you very detailed explanation starting from the installation of Git till the code commit happens in a Git, the different components, the different phases in a Git, starting from phase where your code is present there in your local repository, how to initiate one repository, how to initiate one local repository. I'll giving you that idea. How the code moves from your local repository to the indexing phase and then to global repository. We'll see that part also. How Git is different from different other tools there in market like Subversion and other tools in market. We'll be seeing that also in our curriculum. Other than that, here, as you can see in this slide, the next life cycle in DevOps phase is build. We'll be using Maven as a tool there. I'll be explaining you how Maven does the build process. What is the default life cycle of Maven in build phase? I'll be giving you that idea. Next, which comes is testing. In testing, I'll be explaining you. I'll be covering up. I'll be carrying on the tool which is Selenium. I'll show you how Selenium you can install. What are the different components of Selenium? How you can perform testing by using Selenium as a tool. We'll take one demo. We'll take some of the sample application. I do have that sample application with me. I'll be taking that sample application and I'll show you how the test results looks like when it comes up, when the testing happens, how the test result looks to a developer, how the test result looks to a tester or to QA. I'll be giving you that idea. Other than that, when we are releasing our application, we'll be using Jenkins as a tool there. I'll be giving you a very detailed idea how Jenkins works, how the pipeline jobs can be created in Jenkins, what is the upstream and downstream jobs in Jenkins, how the Jenkins tool itself can be configured, how we can install, that's for sure, how we can install Jenkins tool. Of course, in our EC2 instance, I'll be giving you that idea. Starting from installation till a sample application gets deployed, and how the flow goes, how the pipeline job can build the application, how the pipeline job can test the application and drive it to release by using Jenkins as a tool. We'll be discussing that. We'll have a good demo for that. Other than that, we'll be talking about deployment part. For deployment, I'll be using Puppet and Ansible as a tool, wherein we'll see what is the push-based configuration, what is the pull-based configuration, what is the difference in between these two architecture, what are manifests, what is playbook, what are the different modules we use in our playbook. We'll be understanding in very detail how a playbook is written, what are the standalone commands in Ansible. We'll see that part also. How you can integrate all these commands in a playbook. What are the formats in which we write playbook? We'll get a very nice overview. We get hundreds of questions when we sit in an interview in Ansible playbook itself. I'll be giving you a very nice idea about how to write a playbook and how to write a Puppet manifest when we are talking about deployment as a tool. Next will be operation is a tool. Here we'll be seeing, here we'll see that when it comes to operations guy, how an operation guy can provision certain application or certain packages which is required for an application to function properly in hundreds of thousands of servers altogether. How it can be done by operations guy together by using Ansible and Puppet as a tool. I'll be giving you that overview in our curriculum. We'll also be covering the monitoring part, as I already said. We'll be covering Nagios as a tool there. I'll be giving you overview by using Nagios as a tool there because it's is holding a good chunk of market now. Here in Nagios, we'll see how the setup happens, how we can install, how we can set up our different tools, how we can integrate our servers by using with Nagios. We'll see that part also. And how these Nagios can be later integrated with our Jenkins. We'll see that part also. So basically, Jenkins will not be a 1 day or 2 day course. The Jenkins will continue from the very first day we are touching DevOps, and will continue till the end of our curriculum. After completion of our each topic, of our each tool, I'll be showing you, we'll be seeing that how that tool can be integrated with Jenkins, how one sample application can run efficiently by using Jenkins. We'll be seeing that in our curriculum. This will be the entire flow which we are going to use in our curriculum. We'll see what is the role of Git here, how Jenkins plays in its role, how Selenium plays in its role, what is the role of monitoring tool, this slide, what is the role of monitoring tool, how Docker, Ansible, Puppet, and Kubernetes plays its role in containerization, virtualization, and configuration management, and how the feedback can be sent back either to developer or to project manager or to product developer. We'll be seeing that the entire flow. This will be the entire sequence, pipeline. So we'll be creating multiple pipelines of this sort to understand this thing very efficiently, very nicely. This will be the basic chunk which we'll be covering in our curriculum. Last but not least, we'll be creating pipelines wherein all the jobs will be creating maybe separate jobs for version control, separate jobs for build, separate job for test, separate job for deploy, testing and measuring and validation. Will be creating separate jobs for these all, and will integrate these jobs in a proper sequence so that all the jobs, if it completes successfully, it gives a feedback to developer or to any concerned team. If it fails, then also it generates a feedback and it gives a feedback to the concerned team. So we'll be creating a pipeline overview of that. So this is a kind of overview, a kind of demo, which we are going to cover up in our curriculum. And with this only, I'll take our curriculum, I'll drive this curriculum in this stated manner.